Hello and welcome again to the Talking Locs podcast. My name is Ade Balogun of Locitude and I'm happy to bring to you this episode, which is a continuation of episode 3, which is titled Lock Maintenance and Products. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, I think you should before listening to this part. A couple of things. I am obviously new to podcasting and I am a certified DIY person, so I've had to figure out a lot of things on my own. The podcast should soon be available on Apple, Google, Spotify and Stitcher podcasts platforms. I hope by the time more people get to listen to this, it would be on a platform that they are more familiar and is more convenient. Also, I want to say a very big thank you for more feedback. It has literally been 3 days and some since this podcast launched, and I am so glad that lockheads are finding it useful. Right, so let's get right into it. First, I'd like to say that this is not about recommending brands that you should use, but it's about teaching you how to think about products. So, as always, in organizing my thoughts, I'm going to be speaking to this in 3 parts. First, understanding product jargons. Second, products you definitely want to avoid. And lastly, product consistency. Yes, so with products, when it comes to natural hair and locks, you hear a lot of things like sulfate-free, paraben-free, natural and organic products, and these things can be quite confusing, and sometimes not understanding what it means and what it's doing or not doing for your hair or locks kind of leads to you not even taking care of your hair properly. One of the things I like to highlight is the sulfate part. So sulfate is one of those ingredients in products. It's also found even in bath products that helps you break down dirt, and then it helps water carry that dirt out of your hair and your skin very easily. The downside to sulfates is that it tends to dry out your hair. However, I would like to give a quick analogy to show you why you should probably use sulfate-based products to wash your hair. Imagine you had a meal and the meal had palm oil and you're trying to wash your dishes and you're trying to wash those dishes with more oil. Well, those dishes will never ever be clean. So it's the same with your hair. If you have dirt in your hair and you're using a sulfate-free product, which is nice and full of nutrients and ingredients that help moisturize your hair, but you're trying to get dirt out of your hair and not necessarily get moisture into your hair at that point. So having said that, I completely recommend sulfate based products in washing locks, especially because we do not have the opportunity to comb through our hair like when you have loose hair. Does this mean that sulfate-free products are completely bad for locks? I don't think so, and I would give another quick example. Imagine I washed my hair today with a sulfate-based shampoo and I went for a swim in 2 days. My hair is not necessarily dirty. I don't need to strip out that much dirt from my hair, but I'd like to, get it shampooed and get some moisture in. In that case, it will be completely okay to use a sulfate-free shampoo. So understanding these products, you can get the best out of them. Now, moving on to the second part, products you should definitely avoid. So, over 11 years ago when I started my locks, it was a myth at the time that wax was the number one thing you needed to lock your hair. Well, the truth is your hair doesn't need any product whatsoever to lock. As long as you do not comb your hair and you have kinky hair, your hair is eventually going to lock. So products do not lock your hair. So the products you should definitely avoid, according to Ade Balogun of Locitude, is number 1, waxes, number 2, butters, and number 3, gels. The reason why you should avoid these products is because they tend to cause buildup in your hair, and that's because you're not combing through your hair. It is difficult to wash them out. The more you wash those things out, they settle into the body of your locks, and then you now start trying to detox it and whatnot, and use other sorts of methods to try and get the products out. But you can definitely avoid this, because in trying to get products out of your locks, you tend to damage them. Some of the other products you're using might dry out your hair even further. Your hair starts to break. The wala is just too much. Just stay away from waxes, butters, and gels. Gels primarily because they tend to flake. Almost 90% of them tend to flake, and they will cause buildup that can be annoying and irritating. So avoid these products and stick to oils, and you should be fine. This brings us to the very last part, product consistency. So I have this theory: the closer the consistency of the product you want to use is to water, the better it is for your locks. So this is why I'm a very big fan of oils, because oils are generally liquid. And then you would ask, conditioners can be buttery, and you said stay away from butters. What do you do? And some conditioners can actually be thick, and sometimes they're looking for this extra moisture. What should you do? So first, you can dilute this product and water it down so that your hair has a higher chance of absorbing it. The last thing I like to do is the skin test, where I put a product that I'm trying to use on the back of my palm and then see if my skin can absorb it. If your skin can absorb the product, then your hair is going to be able to absorb it. So for instance, if you put like Vaseline on the back of your palm, you do know that that Vaseline is not going anywhere, and then if you put that in your hair, it's just going to be there. If you're trying to try out a new gel that promises that it is non-flaky, then put some of it on the back of your palm and then let it dry out naturally and see if it flakes or not. You would be able to know if it's safe to put it in your hair. As usual, I think I've gone over 5 minutes this time, and maybe in the future I should think of doing a much longer podcast. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this podcast, and thank you so much for listening. Your feedback is always welcome. Don't forget to subscribe when we're out on the podcast listening platforms, and also don't forget to follow us on social media. Our handle is at Locitude, LOCITUDE. It's always a pleasure. Bye.